Greetings. I think we're all in now. Massive technical difficulties. Could not get called into the show. It was showing the host had already called in. Lots of difficulties dialing in today. Blog Talk Radio was not friendly to dialing in today, but I think we're in now. I think we're live, and I believe we have our guest with us and everything. Let me double check. Miss McGhee, are you there?
I'm here.
Outstanding. Okay. The C.O.W.S, Gus T Renegade.Is, we are all here. Sorry for the difficulties. My apologies to all the listeners. Very difficult startup, some massive technical problems. Our guest for today's program, Mr. M. Wesley Swearingen, wrote a book. He's a former FBI agent. Wrote a book about racism, really incorrect things that different FBI agents did during his time as an FBI agent. He worked under Mr. J. Edgar Hoover. I read his book a long time ago, and I emailed him about coming on the program, and he said he would be more than willing to come. And he also said, I know someone else you should talk to. He said she's written a book. She is a relative of Mr. Hoover. She talks all about evidence that he was passing as a white person, that he had lots of non-white people in his family. This person is one of them. You should get her on your show. She has a website. She's written a book. She's done a documentary film about her research on this matter. She would be a really good guest. And I checked out her website. I was able to talk to her towards the end of the summer, and just the information that we talked about on the phone, very interesting. She was gracious enough. She got me a copy of the book and the documentary film. Really interesting material. Just fascinating to look at the material that she unearthed about Mr. J. Edgar Hoover. She is with us today to talk about her book. The book is Secrets Uncovered, the documentary, What's Done in the Dark. Her website, it's linked in the description for this program. All you have to do is click the blue link where it says visit her site. Click that. It'll take you right to her website, what'sdoneinthedarkmovie.com. Our guest for today's program, Miss Millie McGhee. Are you there? Miss McGhee, are you there?
Hello, Gus?
Yes, ma'am. We can hear you.
Okay.
Gotcha. How are you? I think we missed you before, so if you could repeat. How are you doing today, Miss McGhee?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I am hanging in. Tough tech difficulties today, but we are hanging in there. Thank you for being patient with us today.
You're very welcome.
Could you share, I guess, with our listeners so they know a little bit more about who you are and how you came to put this project together?
Well, my name is Millie L. McGhee Morris, and I'm an author, a filmmaker, and also a teacher. I started a long time ago wanting to find out more about my roots, mainly because of things that I felt within myself. I wanted to know more about myself and what made me tick and what made my family tick. So I got very interested in genealogy. And then when I started doing the research, I talked a lot to my mother, who is really a storyteller in the family.
Okay.
So you want me to tell more about the history of why I started doing this research?
We're going to get to all of that because this is, like I said, that's what I was doing my weekend, reading the book and going over the film. So we're going to get into all that so that they get a really clear picture of just this fascinating story. Before we hop into that, I did want to ask this program, excuse me, the C.O.W.S, Context of White Supremacy. I have unfortunately concluded that we are in a global system of racism, white supremacy, and the definition that I use for that system is for both racism and white supremacy. This is the definition that I use for both terms. A global system of people who classify themselves as white and are dedicated to subjugating and or abusing everyone in the known universe whom they say is not white. Do you think such a system exists, and do you think that definition is accurate?
Well, I think such a system exists, but after the research that I did, I find that it's very, very, very hard to find anyone in this country that is pure white. We're all mixed, whether they like it or not.
Outstanding. And I did want to clarify for our listeners who maybe haven't seen you, hopefully they'll go to the website, but for those who haven't seen you, are a black female, is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. I'm a black female who is mixed with all kinds of races.
Okay.
But I am known as my culture is African American.
Okay. My co-host, she is 10 years old. She is a non-white female. She is also interested in learning about racism in your work and hopefully establishing a system of justice. She would like to ask you a few questions as well before we get deep into your work. Justice, if you're there, go right ahead and ask any questions you have.
How can the system of white supremacy be stopped?
Well, I think that the only way we're going to stop that is to believe in what we believe in, is that we're all one people. And I personally don't focus on the white supremacists because I know that they haven't did much research themselves. I don't know if we can stop it other than just putting out as much love from yourself as you can and not really getting wrapped up into basically color more than what you have to offer to this country and to yourself. And I think that's the only way we can stop it, is to just show as much love to everyone and not even focus on a color of a person. That's just where I am right now. I'm at a place where I look at people as human beings, not as white or black or anything like that. I think we're all human beings.
Did you say that everybody is white?
Would I say that everybody is white? No, I wouldn't say that everybody is white. I would say that everybody is a human being. We're all God's creation. And I think that we should love each and every one of ourselves. Everybody should love everybody for who they are. I think the only thing that's going to stop racism is love, not hate, love.
How do you work to produce justice?
How do I do what, baby?
Work to produce justice.
Work toward justice?
To produce justice, yeah.
I'm not understanding your question. Gus, would you tell me what she's saying?
How do you work to produce justice?
Oh, okay. How do you work to produce justice? I think that being positive, believing in yourself, educating yourself, making sure you're well educated, and treating people the way you would like people to treat you.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome, sweetie.
Again, Miss Millie McGhee, author of Secrets Uncovered. Your book, you, as I said, focus on information that you uncovered about your relationship to Mr. J. Edgar Hoover. Before you began your research, before you did the book and the documentary, what did you know about J. Edgar Hoover?
I didn't know very much about J. Edgar Hoover, except for growing up, I knew that I had a lot of anger in my heart toward him because of the things that I learned about Martin Luther King. And at 16 years old, I remember very distinctly hearing him say he was a notorious liar. And I remember at 16 I was very angry with him. But at that point, I didn't realize J. Edgar Hoover was actually related to me. I knew all my life that we were related to the Hoovers, and I knew that my great-great-grandmother was taken, her mother's mother was taken out of Africa, and she was taken and raised by the Hoovers, and she was a slave. I knew that from family reunions and storytelling and, you know, all my life. But when I turned 27 years old, I remember starting to have nightmares and stuff about someone trying to burn us up, and I didn't understand that, so I started talking to my mother, and I started talking actually to a therapist. My husband thought that I needed to talk to someone because I was having this same nightmare over and over and over. And so when I talked with my mother, she told me that she was telling me that there were family secrets, all about keeping a secret about who the Hoovers were in the family. And so as it went on through the research, I came into my mother's house with a book. Matter of fact, it was called The Man and the Secret by Kurt Gentry. Showed it to my mother, and she was like, "Oh, Granddad!" And I looked at her because the picture on the front was J. Edgar Hoover, and she was calling him her granddad. So that really kind of shook me up, and that really kind of put the spark in me to really do this research. And so 10 years of really strong, heavy research brought out connections, which was very, very hard. And you can talk with Mr. Swearingen. He's there because I found parts of his book which related to some of the things that my mother was telling me about the stories that was told to her about the Hoovers. And so I called and found him. I researched and found him and started talking to him about it. And it was quite a relationship there.
Wow. Was your relationship to Mr. Hoover, was that something that was talked about in the family? Like, was this something that, when you became interested in this and you started to talk with your mother and other family members, was this something that everybody wanted to hop in and talk about?
No, it wasn't something everybody wanted to talk about. Actually, it was something everybody wanted me to just leave it in the closet, leave it alone. But I wanted to know what my grandfather told me and if it was true, because as the memories started coming back to me, because my grandfather told me at 10 years old that, and I will quote the way he said it to me. He said, Granddad, I said, this Hoover man, because I knew the Hoovers were a part of us, it was in our family somehow. And we had a discussion in grade school, and we were talking about the presidents, and one of the boys in the class was teasing me and saying that J. Edgar Hoover was the president, and we got into a debate. I was in the debate club and all of that in school, and I enjoyed debating, and I enjoy history. And he told me that J. Edgar Hoover was the president. I said he wasn't. He was an FBI agent. So when I got home, I asked my dad to take me to see my grandfather because I knew he would know and tell me who J. Edgar Hoover was and if he was a relative of ours. And my grandfather's word was, "That old goat is my second." That's his exact words, and I'll never forget it. "That old goat is my second cousin." But during the time of the research, I found that old goat was not his second cousin. He was actually his first cousin. 10 years of research, and a lot of archives being erased, a lot of the research being smeared out and marked over and all of that, and it was really kind of like detective work. And I tell you, Mr. Swearingen, he was tough on me, and I'd like for him to tell you how tough he was on me.
Has he called in already, Mr. Swearingen? Is that you?
He should be in.
Hello? Yes, sir. Mr. Swearingen, is that you?
Yes.
Oh, well, how about that? Extra guest for the day. Could you please share so our audience, they know a little bit about you? I have read your book and would like to have you on the show to talk about that, but it is a privilege to have you in with Miss McGhee to talk about Mr. Hoover, Mr. M. Wesley Swearingen. Am I saying your name correctly?
Yes, you are.
Okay, outstanding. Could you just let us know who you are and work that you've done?
Well, I was a special agent for the FBI under J. Edgar Hoover for 25 years, about 15 years under Hoover, and there were some things that I questioned when the counterintelligence program started toward the Black Panther Party and other black people like Martin Luther King and Elijah Muhammad. And after I retired, I wrote a book called FBI Secrets, an Agent's Expose, which is available on Amazon.com. And when Millie McGhee saw the book or heard about my book, she called me. And at first I thought that I was speaking to, I've told her this before, someone who was a little on the crazy side. And as she told the story, because she first said that she was Millie McGhee, and I recognized the Mississippi accent because I had worked in Mississippi for a while. And I thought, and she said she was J. Edgar Hoover's cousin, and I'm thinking, oh yeah, sure. Anyway, what she told me matched with what I had heard as rumor when I was in the FBI. In fact, my first office was in Memphis, and I was working in northern Mississippi, and an older agent told me that Hoover's biological father was black, and I thought, yeah, sure, I'm a brand new agent, and he's telling me this story, so I'll go ask around and maybe end up getting in trouble. But later on, I heard that this it wasn't just a rumor, and then other agents that I knew after I was transferred to Chicago told me about the fact that some of the agents in Washington checked the birth records, and they didn't quite match up with the census records. And of course, I didn't have any personal information. It was all what stories had told to me. But when Millie was talking to me about this, I thought maybe she might be able to find out, because I was always curious for a long time. Because when in 1968 and 1969, Hoover was pressing all the field offices to go after black people and neutralize any black leaders, and I'm thinking, no government employee that I know of does this, and there had to be something behind it. And I was thinking, maybe the black genealogy that Hoover had was making him angry at African Americans the way Adolf Hitler was mad at the Jews. I don't know whether very many people know, but Adolf Hitler had a Jewish background, and that's why he hated Jews. And I'm thinking, we've got the same kind of situation in the United States. We've got the director of the FBI who is black as far as I know, but I'm not going to go out on the street and say anything because, it didn't really make any difference what color a person was. As long as they do the job, who cares? And so when Millie was talking to me, I said, you better get your story straight, because they will just crucify you if you come out with some phony baloney story. And she started to work, and she wrote her first book, and I read it, and I said, well, it's a nice love story, but the part about the FBI, I'm not too sure. I said, I think you got to go back and check the records. And then we got into a dispute that, there weren't any records on the plantations. And I said, don't tell me that, because I worked in Mississippi, and that's how I used to verify birth records of African Americans, by going to the plantation owner and looking through their big books. Black people back then were, sort of slaves, but they were property. And so the plantation owner is going to keep a record of his property. And so I said, if you really want to check who's who, don't go to the county courthouse, because I know that they don't have records there, but go to the plantation owners. Well, apparently she did, and she kept going and going and going, and I kept telling her that she's got to dig for more, and then, as I understand it, she finally came up with some white relatives of J. Edgar Hoover, and they said, yeah, that's correct. His biological father was African American. And I told Millie, I said, okay, you sold me. That's all I need. As long as the white relatives admit to it, then you've got it.
Well, you know, Gus, the white relatives had been looking for their roots as well, and they were trying to figure out how J. Edgar Hoover was attaching himself, the way he was attaching himself to them, and none of the records was coming out right, and so they already had suspected that he was part of the slave relatives. And so what really got me was my uncle, who is J. Edgar Hoover's biological father, Ivory Hoover, wife, who was biracial as well, left him, and J. Edgar Hoover's mother went to Mississippi and lived in the house with him, and when they did the census records, they got her name with Ivory on the census record as his wife. And also there was records in Gentry's books showing that J. Edgar Hoover was very upset when he had gotten a promotion about his father's death. And this father was supposed to had died in the year of, I think it was 1972, I believe. He was, and then his biological father, the white father that was married to his mother, actually died in 1921. So those things are in my book, showing the discrepancies in the dates of the time of the interview that he had, and he said his father died. Well, the father that died was my uncle. And the father that was his white father was still alive. So those kind of clues kind of made me see that I was on the right track of finding out the truth about my history. But mind you, I was really hoping that I found that he wasn't related to me. And that's just because it was so much controversy. And I had to make sure before I came out and said he wasn't, I had to make sure that he was or he wasn't. And then I got a package in the mail from one of the white relatives telling me that I was on the right track and sent me some wills and documents to prove it. So those are the things that kind of tied it up. But as far as the genealogy, and I don't know if you know that, and maybe Wes can help us on this, there was a fire in the archives, and a lot of archives got damaged. And I think you saw that in my film. I showed that part of it. And when they dried out, J. Edgar Hoover went before the Congress and said that he thinks that all of them should be just destroyed because it would cost so much money to the government to make them right or take care of them or refurbish them. And so he had them totally destroyed. And those were documents that proved what. And also doing my research, I found that when he first came into the FBI, he had a job working really close to the those files.
Very important. One thing I want to try and work on doing with the program is highlighting specific things that I think are very important. Mr. Swearingen, you said that when Miss McGhee first contacted you, your words, you said you thought she was crazy.
Yes.
With these loony stories about, Mr. J. Edgar Hoover being her cousin or a relative of some sort, and that when the book first came to you, it was a nice love story, but you thought she needed to get her information together about what she was saying about the FBI specifically. And you told her, you need to go and get more evidence. But when she came back and said white people who are saying that they're my relatives, these white people are agreeing with my story and saying that, yes, the information that I have is correct. They are verifying what I'm saying. Then you were satisfied. Is that correct?
Yes, it is.
Okay. For my listeners, I think that is very important in illustrating the power of being a white person, and specifically having a white person to co-sign or agree with what you're saying in a system of racism, white supremacy.
Let me clear something else up. So more than that, what they said was their research shows that J. Edgar Hoover, something is fishy about J. Edgar Hoover being related to them, is what they said. I think that what Wes really saw was the documents that I showed him in the book, and the documents of the lady's name being down in Mississippi with my uncle. Also, the documents showing his birth records smeared. Remember his birth records, Wes, shows that he was, as they say back in the day, a bastard child. It's right on his birth records. Yes. You know, those are documents that we found. Yes, the white people came out, but I personally don't remember them saying that exactly that they believed what I was saying. They were just saying that they believed that J. Edgar Hoover wasn't there, you know, on the side of the relationship of them. I just want to make that clear because those people are very precious to me, and I don't want them to think that I am twisting their words.
Right.
You know, and they live in Seattle, and I love them dearly. Christy is very close to my heart. They are still looking through their research, but they did say that J. Edgar Hoover, they always disclaimed him, disowned him, because they could not see where he was related to their grandmother the way he say he was.
Okay.
And they were saying that it makes sense that my research is on the right track. Okay. But I think that Wes actually agreed when he saw, because Wes, but Wes, you were very nice with the way you said that you actually played the advocates. Remember, you said that's what I'm going to do, and you were tough than nails with me. I mean, till I was in tears. Am I right, Wes?
Yes.
And he was not buying it until he saw documents. It wasn't just and I have to be honest, it wasn't just the white people coming out and becoming a family with me. It was, he needed to be an FBI agent, has to see the facts. And when he saw those facts...
see, as an FBI agent, whenever we checked someone's background, we always had to verify their birth records. And early on in my career, agents are telling me that there's something funny about J. Edgar Hoover's birth records. And I'm thinking, here's the director of the FBI. His birth record should be an open book, you know, pristine. And when other agents are telling me that there's something a little funny, I think, well, okay, you know, way back when maybe the records weren't too accurate, and then someone like Millie McGhee comes along and says she's related. I'm thinking, maybe what I heard back in the 50s was on the right track. And I think one reason that Millie probably trusted me as a white person is that after I retired, I helped Geronimo Pratt, who was former leader of the Black Panther Party in Los Angeles. I helped him eventually get out of jail. He was prosecuted and convicted for a murder he did not commit, and he was in prison almost 25 years. And I spent about 19 years helping his attorneys get him released, and he was released in, it was about 1997 from prison, and she read that in the book and probably felt that I might be the only one she could trust. I don't know, but then when
that's true, but also the most important thing I felt at that time was when he started to be really tough on me, and he just came out and told me, listen, I'm an FBI agent. I'm telling you, if you come out half-stepping with this, you're gonna be eaten alive. He said, I'm trying to tell you, if you don't go back and do your due diligence, he says you're not gonna live. He said they're gonna eat you up. This is not no little bitty thing you bringing out here. This is bigger than you. And I'm telling you, this was 3 books until I brought out the 4th book. I wrote 3 books. He rejected. West kept rejecting and rejecting. I mean, big capital letters on the internet. It's made me cry. And I respect him for that because he made my work legitimate. He made me work hard and bring out some true facts that I'm proud of. And I think that's what it was, more than I do know that you did work to help save that guy, and I do know that your book was coming out with the truth. I felt like you were a man that was honest. But I
wanted you to get the accurate information, and that's why I was so tough on you, because I felt that you were on the right track. You weren't just trying to write a story and claim that you were related to J. Edgar Hoover and blah, blah, blah. And that's why I was so tough, because I wanted you to get it correct, because if you just went halfway, then they could have blown you out of the water, and that would have been the end of it. And no one would have known.
Exactly.
It would have just been an allegation that never went anywhere, and that was that.
I do want to point out, because I think this is very important for non-white people to hear this. Mr. Swearingen, you said that this Mr. Hoover having a black parent, this was rumored to some degree while you were an active FBI agent. Is that correct?
Correct, yes.
Okay. And you said that even though you had heard this, and you had heard that there were discrepancies about his birth certificate, that other FBI agents had pointed out that the information is not matching up with the census data.
Yes.
That when Miss McGhee came to you with her story, you thought she was crazy.
Right.
And then when white people said, or what they said suggested that Miss McGhee's investigation was accurate, that was when you said, okay,
Yes.
Okay. I think that, again, very important for non-white people to hear that. I think that underscores the power white people have in the system of racism, white supremacy. I guess even one of you, because both of you talked about this, and I think what I just said will connect nicely to this point. I believe, Miss McGhee, you talked a lot about how you felt that the oral records and oral history that non-white people have kept since there were no records kept. Slaves' birth records, they didn't have birth certificates for slaves and that type of thing. Mr. Swearingen just touched on how they were looked at as property. So slave masters, they would keep a record of their inventory, their property, but you didn't really have birth records and that type of thing to keep a track of slaves. And you feel, Miss McGhee, you have felt that the oral history that black people kept in this area really is not respected. It's not looked at as an accurate record of the history of black people in this country. How do you feel that impacted your work?
I feel it impacted my work quite a bit, but as I said in the film, that after doing this work for 10 years, I have to tell you that I believe that oral history, when family members are telling you who is related to you, who's your uncle, who's your father, is just as important as something written on a paper when you can find a record erased and smeared and changed. But in somebody's memory, when a grandmother or a grandfather is telling you something, why would they lie about who you're related to? It just didn't make sense to me. And I really think that storytelling is important even today, to talk to your children and talk to your family about who you are related to. So oral history to me is very important. And I think that today it's getting to be even better than it was back then, because people are starting to believe in that, and looking through the records to see if they could find it, because even like you said, if you have slaves, they have the name somewhere, so you could connect it and it becomes a story.
Wow, I definitely want to get both of your opinions, because people in the chat room have already been throwing this question out there. I think, well, I won't say a lot, but I know a significant number of people are aware of the allegations of Mr. Hoover perhaps being involved in homosexual activity, perhaps engaging in some sort of cross-dressing. What sort of impact do you think him living with this information that he had a non-white parent, that he actually was a non-white person, what kind of impact do you think that had on him perhaps engaging in homosexual activity, not having any children, maybe even cross-dressing? I'll throw that out to both of you.
Well, I will tell you this, doing my research and my study of all of that, is J. Edgar Hoover preferred, and this is in my opinion, preferred to be gay than to be black. And we all have to realize, back in that time, if I had blue eyes and light-skinned face, I think I would have passed as well. And I would have, because back in that day, when you were black, you were treated so badly, and if you looked white, of course you're going to try to pass for white, and many people did. And I think that he suffered a lot in his life. I wanted to find more than just about my relationship or my family ties to J. Edgar Hoover. I wanted to research some information about the man. I wanted to know what kind of man he really was. So I went looking for more about him as a man. And I found a little book on the internet that I bought from someone for $10, and it was a little Sunday school pamphlet that he wrote, he authored. And that book was very deep. He talked about if he had a son and what he would do. It was almost like he was crying out to say that he was abused as a child. And so it was, it brought about a little bit of tenderness to me about him, to see that he suffered. He had to have suffered to hide such a secret his whole life.
Wow. I just want to point out for our listeners, you talk about this pamphlet that you found and some of the things that he revealed in this book that you thought were incredibly profound in the documentary.
My husband is a psychiatrist, and I took the book to him and read it, and I told him what I got from it, and he said exactly the same thing. It sounds like the way he was saying about if he had a son, how he would raise his son and what he wouldn't do to his son. He would never lie to his son. He seemed to be very upset that he was lied to. I felt like he did not know that he had black blood in him until he was like in his teens. And that's a hurtful thing.
Mr. Swearingen, I would love to hear your thoughts on this as well.
I feel the same way, and I actually felt kind of sorry for him because he couldn't live a normal life, have girlfriends and get married, because he didn't dare have any children because they might come out black. And back in those days, being black or African American was a real no-no, which I think is ridiculous. And then, of course, being gay was another no-no. So he had a real problem, and it's a fact that Hoover was seeing a psychiatrist for a long time, but the psychiatrist kept his word and never divulged what the problem was. But there were rumors inside the FBI as to why Hoover was seeing the psychiatrist, and there was a combination of both, being part African American and having gay tendencies. And so I felt sorry for the man in a way.
If you look at some of his pictures when in his younger days, I don't even understand how he looked African American so much so. some of the family pictures we found, and I think you saw them, Gus, on the movie.
Yeah, but the one picture
he
that
looked
is very
identical
popular,
to one of my uncles.
he became director.
I'm sorry, Mr. Swearingen?
The one picture that is very popular is when he became director of the FBI. He's sitting at a desk, and the light, you can see that he wasn't all English, Irish, and Scottish, but it never made any difference to me. I grew up in Steubenville, Ohio, and I had some of my best friends were African American, and it was just I didn't understand racism until I joined the FBI and started working in Mississippi, and then I saw it. And we're talking about 1951. I was shocked.
Excuse me, I'll ask both of you, do you think that Mr. Hoover having a black parent and him carrying this information, being deceived about this for one, and then finding out the truth and carrying this information, do you think that was a significant factor in why he mistreated non-white people so much?
I think so. I couldn't understand it at first, but then it seemed logical that that's why he was so angry with non-whites, because he was mad at his natural father and the father that raised him, and he was probably mad at his mother. And just, when someone lies like that for so long, and then you discover the real truth, and here you are trying to pass as white, and you know that any day you might lose your job because someone will discover that your father was African American. I mean, it wouldn't matter today, but we're talking about back in the 1930s.
Well, I know when you're trying to keep a secret like that, it is very painful. It's hard. It's very hard. And I don't know to say this like this from my experience. If I'm in a room with all African Americans, there is a special feeling in that room. And if somebody's in there that's got light blue eyes and fair skin, and you know that they're black, you can see the blackness come out in them. So if he set himself among us, we would really know it. So he had to put up that facade and hide and hate so that we wouldn't be in the same space with him. So that was a hard secret for him to carry.
You think his aggressive, racist manner, do you think that was a way of him kind of proving and solidifying him being a white person?
He's trying so hard to be white. He even the things that I found out about the picture of his mother. He had this one picture that he had everywhere in his house, and I've heard that it was even in his bathroom. It was I'm white, I'm white, I'm white, And his brother, his stepbrother, who was more white than him. And if you look at all the FBI pictures, and I looked at them, you'll never see him sitting next to his brother, because his brother's skin was pure white. I mean, it was really white. And he had the olive in his skin. And so he camouflaged himself away from the real Snow White people. Because it would show him up. It would show up his color. And I noticed that he got darker as he got older, as such as my grandfather, who was biracial. My grandfather was very light in his young years. It's so light that I used to ask him, was he white? And the older he got, the darker he got. And myself also. I was very fair when I was younger. And the older I got, the more melon come out. Yeah.
Wow. We got someone that called in, but I did want to get really quick for some of the folks who might not be clear when we use the term passing. That means you are accepted as a white person. Would that be an accurate definition for passing?
Exactly.
Okay. Got that in the chat room. Passing, accepted as a white person.
Yeah.
We had someone called in at 916. Did you have a question for Ms. McGhee or Mr. Swearingen? Oh, thought I had him.
Wow.
Okay, we can hear you now. Go ahead, 916.
Not right now. For now, I'm just going to listen if that's okay.
Oh, okay. Perfect. Thank you for listening in, sir. I wanted to ask both of you because I think you both commented, Mr. Swearingen, you said that even FBI agents noted that there were some discrepancies around birth records. And Ms. McGhee, you talked about this in your book and in the documentary, how there were suspicious fires where records were destroyed, where there was smudging around the dates and information for certain people's names. Certain information was just lost. Can you talk about some of just the interesting things that you found while doing your research with regards to records?
Well, with regard to records was his birth record. That was the most chilling part, was his birth certificate, because my grandfather, when he told me that old goat was his second cousin, he noticed right away that he shouldn't have said that to me because it was a family secret. So right away he started saying things to frighten me, like, if you tell what I just told you, the whole family is going to be burned up as we sleep. And you know, I'm 10 years old, and this is very frightening. I love my family. You know, I wasn't going to say anything to anybody. But the main thing that he said, because I was very inquisitive child, I said to him, well, Big Daddy, how is he going to hide his birth certificate? And he said, he's going to destroy it. You'll never find it. And that's why when I found that birth record like that, it just had something like a flashback on that conversation with my grandfather. It was almost exactly the way he spoke it, you know. The birth record was X'd out. It's amazing. And it says that he was illegitimate. It says that on the birth record. And so when I found that, I felt like, you know, this is it. And all the pieces started fitting together on the puzzle with my great-great-grandmama Emily, her relationship with the Hoovers and everything. It started telling me stories. All this paperwork and these documents, stories was coming out. It's almost like people say pictures are tell stories. Well, also those kind of documents, because you could see from year to year where somebody's living, who's living in the house and all that. So I began to get stories from my ancestors' spirits to me. And that's part of the love story series I'm writing now. So those documents were I'm so happy that I did that, because I got to know my family so much better.
Did you feel like you were putting yourself in danger at any time during this work? Like,
no, at first, no, I didn't, because I just thought I was looking for my family. I had no idea until I talked with Mr. Swearingen, and he scared me when he was telling me, you can't come out like this. This is not a picnic. You can't do this, you know. And then I started getting phone calls from my publicist that FBI was calling, and they had our FBI records and this and that. And I started thinking, oh, my goodness, my family was not happy. Most of my family was not happy because this was a secret. And the black Hoovers, that was my Uncle Ida's children, they have been frightened. Some of them are still frightened today, have been frightened so badly because there was a couple of murders. People showed up dead and things happened, you know, back in the day. And so, yes, I didn't fear for my life or anything, because I felt like all I was doing was research, and this is a free America. I could do my research. But then I did get some phone calls from people thinking that I wanted the land in Mississippi and I was looking for this and that, you know. But I just felt like this was something I had to do to free my spirit. I had to find out the truth.
Mr. Swearingen, you worked as an FBI agent for many years. You wrote a book about how they participated in a lot of misconduct, COINTELPRO operations. Did you have any thought that, you might be putting yourself in harm's way doing this work?
Yes, I did. And in fact, I had several nightmares before I actually wrote my first book. And I thought that I'd never have any peace or respect for myself if I didn't write it. So I went ahead and thought, well, if I end up 6 feet under, that's the way it is. But I wanted people to hear what needed to be said.
Did you feel like Miss McGhee, and doing this work even now, did you feel like she also might be putting herself in danger?
I think I probably felt more so because I was going up against the whole FBI and many good friends, several thousands of friends that would think I had just gone crazy. But I stuck to the facts, and I didn't talk about rumors or anything else. I just spoke of what I knew personally and what was in the court record, and I knew that no one could legitimately challenge anything I said if I stuck to the facts, and that's what I did.
But you see, the difference that Mr. Swearingen's book also had to be approved, as I understand, by the FBI before he could even publish it. So,
yes, I had South End Press agreed to publish the book, and we were all set to go. And South End Press sent a letter to the FBI asking if it was okay to use the cover on the book, and they said that they hadn't heard that I was writing a book, and so I had to send it in. And the interesting part was that I had submitted a manuscript to them several years before that, and the agreement that the FBI makes with agents is that if they want to write anything, whether it's fiction or nonfiction, they have to submit it, and the FBI will review it for 30 working days and see if there's anything in there that needs to be eliminated. An agent might be telling some secrets or whatnot. I wasn't telling any secrets. All of my information was actually a violation of either criminal laws or civil rights or violations of the Constitution. So I felt I was on pretty safe ground. The only thing they asked me in that first manuscript, the one that was going to be published by South End Press, was that I delete the names of some of the agents in charge in Chicago who had authorized illegal break-ins. And I said no. I said they were part of it. I'm going to publish their names along with all the other names. Now, agents that I worked with, I didn't use their name because they weren't doing anything wrong. They did the same thing I did. They were told to do it, and we went along with the orders. And what I found out after I retired, I spoke to Charles Gray, who was a famous attorney, and he said, did you ever hear of Nuremberg? And I said, well, of course. And he said, you could be tried for what you did. And I said, what are you talking about? I was ordered to do that. He said, that's the essence of the Nuremberg trials, was that the soldiers could be found guilty of what they did, even though they were ordered, because they knew what they were doing was wrong. And I'm thinking, oh, you smoke. But fortunately, the statute of limitations had run. But I never killed anyone. I never put anyone in jail who was innocent. Had trouble getting ones in jail that were guilty. But it was... And
my fear was only...
up against the FBI.
Right. Well, mine was different. Mine was different because I was doing research, family history, and I did get a phone call from the FBI when the book first came out, and they basically wanted to read the book. They wanted to read it and see what I was saying. And so once they did that, I actually had protection when I was down in Mississippi, and I didn't know it. The person that called me in to do the book signing, and I was wondering why I had police car, in front of my car, lights and all that. I didn't know what was going on. But they said that somebody had put out a threat, and so the FBI had put protection around me. Yeah.
Well, I did begin to get anonymous phone calls 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, kind of a wake-up call and heavy breathing, and then they'd hang up. But when I first went public, a very good friend of mine said that I should talk to a newspaper like the New York Times because there was a death threat. Nothing ever happened because I'm still alive and well, but that did kind of shake me up a little bit. But I felt that I had to tell my story and tell the people what Hoover and some FBI agents had done.
Again, Miss Millie McGhee and M. Wesley Swearingen. Justice, I want to check. Do you have some questions you would like to ask either of our guests today?
If an FBI agent is mistreating you, what do you do?
What was that again?
Will you repeat, Gus, what she said?
She said if someone in the FBI is mistreating you, what should you do?
I will let Wes answer that.
It was actually for the white person.
That's a tough question to answer because when, say, if local police are mistreating you, then you can write a letter to the Department of Justice and complain. If someone in the FBI is mistreating you, you could do the same thing, write to the Department of Justice. The problem is that it's difficult to complain about an agency which is going to be conducting the investigation. That's the bad part. But hopefully nowadays, if the FBI is doing something illegal against another person, that they can complain to the Department of Justice, and hopefully it will stop. It isn't like it was 30 or 40 or even 50 years ago, because you make a complaint against the FBI when Hoover was director and it would just go into the wastebasket. I know that for a fact. But I think things have changed. At least I hope they have. And if you think someone is doing something illegal or it's unethical, write a letter to the Department of Justice, and if that doesn't work, write to your senator or congressman. Did that answer the question for you? Hello?
Hello?
Did that answer your question? Okay.
Yes. Why do we have FBIs?
I didn't understand you.
Why do we have FBIs?
Oh, because there are certain federal violations that you have to have an agency investigate. It's like having a local police department. They investigate crimes, and there are crimes that Congress has established, violations, federal statutes and violations, and so you have to have a law enforcement agency investigate those. Now, some of them are investigated by the FBI, some are investigated by the Narcotics Bureau, and some are investigated by the immigration. So you have different agencies that investigate different criminal matters, but most of them are investigated by the FBI. There used to be under 200 different categories. I don't know what it is now. I think it's way over 200 categories of crimes.
Okay, that'll be all for now.
Again, context of white supremacy, Mr. M. Wesley Swearingen and Millie McGhee. Someone in the chat room, when Justice asked about what should you do if an FBI agent is mistreating you, they asked about perhaps contacting a representative or a judicial oversight committee. Would those be a correct route to take, I guess, if you feel you've been mistreated by an FBI agent?
I think so, yes. You know, if that doesn't work, then write to the Department of Justice. And if that doesn't work, maybe go to the local newspaper. But there are many ways that a person can complain if they feel that there's some wrongdoing.
I know, are you familiar with Mr. John Potash?
I don't recall right off.
Okay. He wrote the book, The FBI's War Against Tupac Shakur and Black Leaders. He cites your work in his book, and he talks about how a lot of these COINTELPRO tactics have continued against black people, and I don't know if he had any suggestions for ways that people could deal with this, but he said you should definitely be suspicious, particularly if it's any non-white people, black people that are making an effort to do anything to work against racism. You should definitely be suspicious if things start to happen to them, bad things start to happen to them. There should definitely be some suspicion there. I don't know, some of the people that he talked about in his book, they did go to the newspapers and talk about what they felt was happening to them, and it didn't seem that effective. Seems like if the FBI is mistreating you, particularly if they're mistreating you on the basis of race, you could be in a very tough spot in terms of looking for help or resources and dealing with that. Okay. Yeah. I just thought that was important. So to clarify, you might not even be anyone to go to help you out if the FBI is mistreating you, particularly if they're practicing racism in mistreating you. You might not have any options for help. Is that correct?
Maybe not. I mean, I certainly hope things have changed from the days of J. Edgar Hoover, but it's a tough situation if you can't get help from your senator or congressman or the Department of Justice. Then I don't know.
Yeah, that was Mr. Potash in his book. That was pretty much the grim picture that he was laying out, that a lot of these people were being mistreated and there really was no help for them. And it seemed like they were being mistreated on the basis of race, racism, white supremacy being practiced against these non-white individuals. Pretty tough spot to be in. I think that was important for our listeners.
I think with the new administration we have, it might be a little easier to establish a complaint against something that you feel is wrong. At least I would hope so.
The new administration, you mean President Obama?
Yes.
Okay. Why do you think it would be easier because of President Obama?
Well, we have an African-American president who would take a dim view on anything like that. We have, I think, African-American in the Department of Justice.
I think the whole key to racism is educating yourself, making sure that you get yourself a good job so you can have money. If someone is mistreating you, you can get a good lawyer. Because as long as we live, it's going to be racism on both sides, no matter what. So that's, I don't think that the President of the United States being black or being white would make any difference. I think that it's up to us as individuals to change this course. and change it by educating ourselves. And I can't say that enough. Education is the key.
I'm not sure I got the question answered, though, in terms of how things would be easier if you're being mistreated because President Obama is in the White House. I just want to make sure I got that answered clearly before I move forward.
Well, are you speaking to me or
Mr. Swearingen?
Well, it's my understanding that he wants a change, and that would certainly be one of the changes, that people can complain and have something done.
I'm still not understanding how it would be easier because President Obama is in the White House. I think a lot of individuals are still being mistreated, and I'm not seeing where it has been easier for them because he's been in the White House. But I could be incorrect.
Well, I don't know. Maybe writing a letter to the president might get some reaction, because I don't think President Obama would put up with something like that if some agent is harassing an African American. Maybe the new director of the FBI would like to know about it. Maybe writing a letter to them. If you wrote a letter to J. Edgar Hoover, nothing would happen. But things are supposed to have changed. I haven't been in the FBI for 32 years, and hopefully things have changed.
Again, I just wanted to point out Mr. John Patash, he was on the program in October, and his whole book is about how things have not really changed that much. The same COINTELPRO activities that you write about in your book, Mr. Swearingen, that many of them have continued just under different names, and a lot of the same things are happening to non-white people, especially black people, who are trying to make an effort to work against racism. A lot of those same programs are still continuing, and he was on this program October 4th in his book, FBI War Against Tupac Shakur and Black Leaders. Mr. John Patash, he is a white male. Ms. McGhee, in your book, you talk a lot, Secrets Uncovered, your book, you talk a lot about, or you focus a lot on the relationships that produced eventually Mr. Hoover, specifically the slaves on the plantation and the slave masters. And you really spend a lot of time to kind of breathe some life into these people so we get an idea of kind of what was happening in your family tree. How do you feel about the relationship between Emily and Master Hoover? That's the slave and slave master for the folks who have not read the book.
Well, when I first did the research, I realized that Emily, in 1865, she could have been free and not a slave, but she still stayed there on that plantation with the white man, Master Hoover, and his white wife. And eventually the wife left, and Emily stayed with him until both of them, until it was the end of their lives, forever. So I realized that it wasn't like a slave for her. She was in love with him. And people would get angry when I would say that because she was a slave. But she had not one, not two, not three, but 7 or 8 children by this man. And by her, one child by her brother, her stepbrother, which was the white lady's son. So that was very interesting for me to do that research to find out what, it was incest is what it was. And that type of thing happened, not just in my family, in many families. So it was quite interesting to find out how they lived back in that day.
Did you feel, I guess specifically with the relationship with Emily and Master Hoover, did you feel this was this was a loving relationship. I know in your book you really make a point of drawing out the human element in the relationship and showing how they still talk about each other even when they're way up in age and about to pass from this world, still talking about each other.
That was my fictitious mind of looking at the documents and what was going on. That story came from my spirit, but that was all fiction. That love story is fiction. I want to make that clear. That's the way I saw it, because the history, the documents showed that she stayed with him and had all these children, and some of them passed for white, and some of them married blacks, and so these stories came to me from that research. I don't know how I feel about her, except for I could say that some of the things I felt she did was to survive for us, for this family, this extended family to continue. That some of the things some of the slaves did was for the future, so that we would not end there, so that we would move forward and continue to live. So I have to have great feelings for them, what they went through for me.
Wow. Dr. Robert Jensen, he's a professor at the University of Texas, Austin. He wrote a book about racism, and he talked about slavery, and he said that one of the things that bothers him, and he feels that this is an act of racism, white supremacy, when white people write books about slavery and they talk about the belly warming, the slaves having sex with the masters on the plantation, which was rampant, that they don't talk about this as a form of abuse. They don't talk about this as though it's rape. And he says that, and he says this in his book, The Heart of Whiteness, he says that if you've got a system of slavery set up, any time that the master is having sex with one of the slaves, this is rape, just because of the power dynamics. That slave is really not in a position to give consent. They're property. They're not even looked at as a human being. It's rape every time. It doesn't matter whether they're nice about it. It doesn't matter whether he's beating the person up or what have you. It's rape every time. How do you feel about that statement, given the research that you've done?
Well, I do believe that back in the day, that when the white man went and got in the bed, they call it bed warmer. Made the bed with the slave woman. I do believe it was rape. Yes, of course it was rape. But my research with my family, when I did my research, I did it all the way through when slavery ended. My grandmother, or great-great-grandmother's mother, stayed there and had more children with this man. This man stayed with her. So I feel that my story is different from that story of her being raped. Because she could have picked up the 3 or 4 children she had when slavery was over and left. But she chose to stay there.
Wow. Do you feel like
all of it was rape? Because some of it was, like you said, they were family. Some of them ended up being like biracial, and they were they respected and loved their children. Some of them kept them. Some of them, maybe it was rape. It's all a matter of doing your research and reading the research and figuring out what really went on.
Do you feel like, in your particular case, are you talking about Miss Emily? Is that, I just want to be clear about. Okay. Yes. Do you feel like in the case of Miss Emily, her staying, even after the Civil War, after slavery was over, her staying with on the Hoover plantation, do you feel like it was in her best interest to stay?
Yes, because where would she go? Where was she going to go? She had nothing. And also, my grandmother ended up, my grandfather ended up with 180 acres of the land. So where are they going to go when slavery is over? Wow. In your book, you talk a lot. You use the exact term master of deceit repeatedly in the book, and just talking about how
this constant stream of lies and deception to kind of keep this whole thing rolling on the plantation, where Master Hoover is lying to other slaves to manipulate them to do things, lying even.
We're talking about the love story. This is a fiction story. Yes.
Okay.
That's the way I saw that history was a line of deceit. It was hiding. I mean, you're talking about a slave master that had a white wife.
Mm-hmm.
He's going and getting into bed with his slave girl.
Mm-hmm.
And he's having as many children by his slave girl as he had by his white wife. So
mm-hmm.
he had 8 or 9 children by his white wife, 8 children by a slave woman. So that was quite a bit of deceit.
When I read your book, which you said it is fiction based on your research, but your interpretation of what the facts and information that you've gathered in your investigation.
Absolutely.
I did not see the brutality, that you often find when you look at these slaves' narratives, the beatings and whippings and things of that nature. It was much more, I guess, slavery without the
family.
Much nicer slave plantation, where master is trying to be nice to his slaves, trying to look out for them. Still slavery, but still trying to look out for people as best he can. Madam is even being nice to people as best he can. But the deception is there that you talk about in your book. Do you feel like that was an integral way that slavery was run in terms of just mistreating?
I thought in my research, I thought that was Mr. Hoover's way of protecting his slaves, because you have to realize the other slave owners were seeing their slaves in a different ways, where they were beating them and doing things, and so he had to have a sort of a facade to be around those masters. So he had to hide and deceit and keep them close so that he could protect them. And I really believe that, because my grandfather had 16 children, and my grandfather, I'm just going by the stories that was told to me as I grew up, was talking about how he protected them and how he kept them together as a family. He wouldn't sell them off. He would keep them together.
Wow. I did want to make sure I got, because I felt this was very important. You touched on it earlier. You said that there were actually 2 murders. This comes up in the documentary, What's Done in the Dark. Ivy, that was that your uncle?
That was my great uncle.
Great uncle, okay. And Miss Mazzola, am I saying the name correctly?
Mm-hmm, that was his daughter.
Okay. Can you share, I guess, what you found about them and these murders that happened to these 2 individuals?
Well, Ivy Hoover, who is J. Edgar Hoover's biological father,
okay,
and his daughter Mazzola was murdered at 31 years old. She had 5 babies. And also Ivy was murdered. So that was the big scare to the whole family. Nobody could talk about J. Edgar Hoover after that.
Did you uncover any information in terms of why they were murdered? Or
it was really bizarre, because Mazzola was at an age where her birth records and everything should have been found, and it was a complete cover-up. There was nothing. It was like she didn't even exist. But I knew I knew her children, my cousins, and all that. But what happened to her wasn't even in the newspaper.
Wow.
So.
Wow. Was that the case with Ivy Hoover as well?
Ivy Hoover, we found his birth records. We found who records on him. But as far as his death, on the death record, it stated no doctor.
Wow.
That's why when you could call it rumor, or you could call it storytelling or whatever, when it was told to me as a young person that there were 2 murders and you can't talk about this, you can't talk about it. When I found all that, I understood it.
Mr. Swearingen, as an FBI agent, is this the type of thing where you would say, this is an anomaly, this is uncommon, this is the type of thing that you should, people should really be raising an eyebrow and doing more work? Or is this, for the particular time period that these murders happened, is this something you would say, oh, that's not that uncommon, if someone died you wouldn't have records, this is nothing that peculiar?
I don't know, because I'm not familiar with that kind of history, and I really don't know.
Very interesting. Let me double check. Justice, did you have some questions that you would like to ask either of our guests today?
How do you get white people to stop practicing racism, white supremacy? And I would like answers from from both of you, please.
Well, I am not a person that is interested in white supremacy. I have a book that's coming out pretty soon called The Day We Left, and it has a lot to do with the way I felt about back in the day of white supremacy. And I think that I don't want to give the white supremacy or people that hate people the power to think that they have me. Me as a person, I don't even think about them. I just move on with my life and try to do as much as I can for someone else's life to change that. Because when you dwell on it and talk about them, it gives them power. And I don't want to give them any power. So I don't even think about them. That's me.
I agree with Millie.
Are you going to answer?
Yes, I said I agree with Millie.
Oh.
I basically don't even teach that, because I teach and talk to young people all the time about educating themselves and feeling good about themselves and feeling good about America, where they live, and I don't give my power over to anyone. They could think whatever they want to think, that's up to them, but I know that I am somebody, and I can make a difference, and I can make a difference without even dwelling on those people.
Not too long ago, the actor Morgan Freeman was being interviewed by a TV anchor person, I forget what it was, and they asked Morgan Freeman, when is this racism going to end? And he said, as soon as people stop talking about it. And I thought that was a very good response.
Don't give them any power. Don't give them the thought.
Right.
Why do white people keep information from non-white people?
I don't understand her question.
I didn't either.
It was for the white person. Why do white people keep information from non-white people?
I still didn't. Did you understand it, Millie?
No.
No.
She said, why do white people keep information from non-white people?
I don't know. I don't. I can't answer for other white people. I don't do anything like that.
I don't understand.
Okay. Probably also now.
Okay.
I do want to point out for our listeners, Tim Wise, who's been on the program, admitted racist white supremacist. Dr. Nancy Krieger and Dr. Stephen Bezruchka, who was just on the program last week, all three of them who do a lot of work on racism, all three of them are white. They all said it is better and healthier to have the discussion about racism. Dr. Nancy Krieger, she is a doctor at Harvard's School of Public Health. She actually said that studies have been done, and the study suggests that when you experience racism and don't talk about it, that's even worse for your health, that it's actually better to go ahead and talk about it. If you are experiencing mistreatment, racism, it's better to go ahead and have that conversation, and I think that's true.
Yeah, I agree with you. If there's an issue about racism and you know that there's an issue for us to talk about, then we talk about it. But if there's no issue, I'm saying I just don't talk about white supremacists and I don't dwell on it, and racism, I try to change it. I try to treat everybody the same. As a black woman, doing my tour of this book, I've had people come up and say to me that black people are racist and want to talk about that. And I know I'm not racist. And so it could go on either side when you're talking about racism. So I try to change it. I just don't like it. I don't like hatred. I don't like racism. I don't like negative. I'm a positive person.
Miss McGhee, can you share with us? You talked a little bit about it earlier, but could you share how your relationship has been with your white family members that you found out after doing this research?
Well, my white family members' relationship with me it's a strain right now because we don't talk to each other, but it's not because we're mad at each other. They moved on. I don't want to say anything negative about anybody because, like I said, I'm a positive person, but they have moved on. I talk to some of the younger people quite a bit. But I don't like bringing up anything negative about anyone. I just don't like that.
Very interesting. Very interesting. I don't want to bring up anything if you don't want to discuss, but the letter that I got with your material about the Blackfoot website, is that something you wanted to share or no?
It's behind me. It was what it was. It was someone trying to sabotage my work, and it was my editor, a lady that edited my book the first time.
Wow.
But even when she did that, I totally ignored that. If I had paid that any of attention, I wouldn't be talking to you about a finished book right now. Sometimes people try to damage you, and when you stop and you pay some attention to it, then it can hurt you. And that's what I mean when I say educate yourself and try to stay positive.
Did you feel like you encountered a lot of that type of thing where people were trying to sabotage your efforts in getting this book together?
Oh, yes. People that felt like that I was not the one to bring this out, that it was their rights to bring this out, not mine.
And your family, I guess, how did they respond once you actually got the book together and it was when it was all coming out? How did they respond to your work? My
family is very proud of this work now. Every one of them are very proud because they say they could never have done it, but they're happy because they understand more about the family now.
I understand. And I want to see if we can get any calls. If you'd like to call in to ask either of our guests today, 347-215-6071. 347-215-6071. One of the people in the chat room, I guess they were curious about what was said to you, I guess, in the work when people were not being supportive, if you wanted to go into detail about that in terms of what people were saying to you when they did not want this to come out or when whatever they were trying to do to get you to stop doing this work.
Well, what was being done was because of J. Edgar Hoover's reputation, the black people didn't want me to say that he had any black blood in him. Oh, please, just leave it lie. Don't, and I'm talking educated black people. It was just, this is not something we want to put on us again. And be honest with you, the white people were only, except for the editor who wanted to be the one to bring the story out, were very happy to find out what made this man tick. Because, you know, when I look at it, the logic that I find on J. Edgar Hoover, black side and white side, I think we equally own up to that. He's black and he's white. So, and that's what I was trying to say to some of the black people that was feeling like, oh no, we don't want him to be black, was that it's not that we don't want to be. Let's not be in denial. Let's understand the fact, and also let's understand that he's just as white as he is black, or more white as he is black. So we all own that part of his genes.
Wow.
So in other words, it was like they were saying, oh, the white people is going to just give him to the black people. Well, we could give him back to them because he has white blood in him too, if you're talking about blood.
Very interesting. Very interesting. I want to double check one of our callers that came in. 916, did you have a question, or are you just listening?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Greetings to everyone.
Greetings.
I want to thank the two guests for taking the time to come in and share their information. I didn't catch the first 47 minutes of the show, so I'm behind. I'll listen to the archive, but there were some things, ma'am, Miss McGhee, that you mentioned that was confusing to me, and I'm just hoping to get a little clarity. One of the things you mentioned was about, I guess, Emily. Is this your great-grandmother or?
My great-great-grandmother.
Great-great-grandmother, Emily Hoover.
Yes.
Being in love with the master on the plantation. And my understanding is that no slave can love anyone.
Oh, really?
That's just impossible because, for one, they can't provide just the basic necessities in order to have a healthy self-esteem for themselves. I mean, if she can't provide food and water and shelter for herself, I personally believe that no slave could possibly love anyone if they can't provide these basic needs. Would you agree with that or disagree with that?
I disagree with that. But you have your rights to believe what you believe, and because I did the research and because of the stories that was told to me as a little girl by the family, people that actually had met family members that knew grandmother. So, you know, you're entitled to believe that, what you just said, but I don't believe that for my great-great-grandmother. Simply because, as I said, as you said, you missed some of the interview.
I did.
Research that I did, finding out that my grandmother stayed with this man her entire life, and his white wife left him, and she had 8 children by him. I mean, at least six of the children by him. So I just, in my heart and mind, do believe that she was in love with him.
Okay, and I'm
as a slave. If I was a slave and someone had me, and I wasn't in love with him, and I didn't want to be there, and slavery was over, I would be gone down the road with all the other black folks.
But many slaves didn't leave the plantation. I mean, many went right back to it.
Exactly.
And the reason why is because they couldn't provide for themselves. So I don't want to argue with you regarding that point. I just want to go on.
With you. You have a right to your opinion, you know, and I understand and I respect that.
Thank you very much. I just want to go on record as saying, you know, on this show that no slave can love anyone because they first don't love themselves.
Well,
and that's my position, and I know a lot of doctors would even agree with me on. A lot of psychologists would agree with me on that. The other thing that you touched, someone else mentioned, I'm not sure if it was you or your other guest, Gus, regarding racism, that if we just stop talking about it, that it would eventually go away. I think he mentioned something about Morgan Freeman's interview. And I actually saw that interview, and it's a very interesting interview. But I've met Native Americans on reservations that don't talk about racism at all, don't think it's a problem. Yet they're on the reservation starving to death. So explain to me how not talking about it is going to solve this problem.
How is talking about it going to solve it?
No, at least by us talking about it, one thing I've learned is, first and foremost, how it works. And I can go into a situation and identify some things that are going on that are racial, as opposed to not talking about it and not being informed about just how it works. So I've gotten a lot of benefit from talking about it, but I haven't gotten anything out of not talking about it. So maybe I'm missing something. I mean, this show, The Cows, we've gotten a lot of benefits out of all of the previous shows, listening to people discuss it. And I think by now there's been over 50 shows. Hello?
Oh, we're still here.
Okay, I thought I got cut off. So I'm just trying to understand how not talking about it benefits anybody.
It's the way you talk about it. If you talk about it and there's an issue, if I saw someone go to someone's house, like that man went and grabbed that man out of his house and arrested him because he was black or whatever, that's an issue to talk about. But I'm just talking about somebody just sit up and just talk about just talk about racism for no reason, just to bring it up. And I don't see where that helps our children or any of us is to just continue. I think we need to be doing something about it. If there's an issue, somebody's doing something, I'm the first one out there ready to walk against that.
Okay.
I think it's a terrible thing. I think racism is a terrible thing.
And I think we've marched about it for a long time, and
we did.
I'm not sure how many benefits that's really gotten us, but because we seem to be in a worse condition now than ever before, So
I don't agree with that, but
well, some of us are doing better than others, but collectively, I see black people in a worse condition now than ever before. Collectively,
okay.
The black people, subcategorized as black, non-white people for the most part. So, but I will continue to listen to the interview. It's been great so far, the little bit that I've heard. But I just, I was unclear on those, those two things that I brought up.
Okay.
Thank you.
And we'll have to.
Oops. I'm sorry about that.
That's okay. No, it's okay.
No, complete your thoughts, sir.
No, I was just saying we'll just have to agree to disagree on those 2 points.
Oh. Okay. Yeah, so thank you for calling in, sir, 916. Someone called in with, I can't see the number, it's all ones. You have a hand up?
Yes, I think I actually just called in.
Oh, okay.
I actually stumbled across this. I've never listened to this show before. And, I'm going to be honest, I'm an African-American man. I'm educated, college degree. And I feel as if, I just stumbled across it. I felt like, I don't know how the racism thing keeps coming up, but obviously there's always going to be racism. I understand that, but what the gentleman just said, as far as we're in a worse place now than we are. We have an African American president. Okay, we are able to literally vote and walk down the street without worrying about being hosed. I just feel like we have to look at and bring some of the positive things out. If we focus on just everything that's negative all the time, I think you're going to continue to get negative results. And I have one other comment I want to make. I heard someone say something about, I guess it was in regards to the slaves and if they can love or whatnot. If you can't basically take care of yourself, and you're in a position, where you can't love. There's a lot of people right now that can't take care of themselves. Black, white, Indian or whatnot. They may not be able to provide maybe shelter or food. So this is something that's not new. So to say that, a person can't basically take care of themselves or love because they're in that position where they're vulnerable or maybe dependent on another person is ridiculous, in my opinion. Who's to say that person obviously started out as a slave, couldn't fall in love with a person or, develop a relationship? I think that's, there's been numerous cases where that has happened. So, and then also I'm just hearing a lot of situations where I've heard where, as a black person, I don't want to hear the questions seem as if there's some kind of trap there, as far as when you ask the the FBI agent certain questions, I feel like we're kind of waiting for him to say something so we can just kind of pounce all over him. Why can't we be happy for the simple fact that he's done like a lot of work to essentially, try to make a change? I mean, there were comments as far as books that you were talking about as far as, if there are white people that do certain things, you should almost be leery of them and things like that. I mean, I just feel like if you focus on the negatives, that's what you're going to get. If you start focusing on a lot of the things that are positive and then where we are and take responsibility for some of our actions, maybe we'll see some changes. That's all I had to say. Sorry, it was long-winded.
Thank you, sir. Someone at 248, you have a question? 248, are you there? Area code 248. Okay, not hearing anything. 248. You want to say something? 248. You can put your hand up. That way I'll know you have a question. I will. The person who called in at 111. This program, you said you haven't heard it before. This program, the cows, the context of white supremacy. As I said at the very beginning of the program, I have concluded that we are in a global system of racism, white supremacy, where non-white people worldwide are being mistreated unjustly. I asked Miss Millie McGhee if she felt that was true. She said yes. This program is about sharing information about that so we can become more informed about how that system works and what should be done about it. Now, if you don't think that exists, this is probably not the program for you. If you do think that exists, well, you can evaluate what you hear on the program if you think it is helpful for you as a non-white person or not. If you don't think it's constructive, no problem. If you think it's constructive, no problem there. But that's the point of this program, is to talk about racism, white supremacy, and how non-white people worldwide are mistreated. That's what we do here every show. I guess, did you all have a comment or response to what the gentleman said?
Are you talking to me or Mr. Swearingen?
You can both weigh in.
Well, I agree with what he said as far as talking about it in a bringing negative. I already said in the beginning of the show that I don't like negative stuff, and I do believe that there is racism, and I know that Mr. Swearingen believes there is racism, but I think that the people that are being victimized with racism should come forward, and those are the people should be talking to the show. It's an issue then I'm willing to talk with that person and try to reach some kind of conclusion to how to help that person, because I'm sure that there is, because it's happened to me many times. But I think what he was trying to say is that sometimes when we talk about a lot of negatives, it brings about negativity, and I'm just. That's all I have to say about his conversation. But there is racism in this country, and there is a lot of hatred in this country, and I wouldn't say it was all white people either. So we have to take responsibility for some of the actions that we, as black people, bring to the table. So do you discuss that with us?
Well, I have concluded that in a system of racism, white supremacy, the non-white people are not, cannot be racist. The non-white people are victims of racism, white supremacy. So I do not discuss black people being so-called racist. I discuss how black people are mistreated by racists on this program.
Okay. Well, I think that some of the people that are mistreated, it would be great if you could bring them on the show, some of those that are mistreated. Like, I would say that I was mistreated, but I handled it. I knew, like the little girl asked, what do? You write your congressman, you get some help. You let people know. You go to the newspaper, and you let somebody know. You don't let them get away with it. Because I think that we have come a little bit further than what that young man, that other man said, that we're worse off. I don't think we are. I think that now, to be able to even talk with you about it on the radio, we have freedom. We wouldn't have had that back in the day. We couldn't be up here talking about this back in the day. We'd all be arrested somewhere. But we can talk about it. It's a free country. And it's good to be able to talk about it in a positive way and trying to find out what we can do to change it.
I agree with that. 206, do you have a question or comment for either of our guests today, Mr. Swearingen or Ms. McGhee?
Yes, I did. Can you hear me?
If you could speak up a little bit. We can't hear you. If you could speak up a little bit, that would be helpful.
Okay.
We got you.
All. Thank you for coming on the program today, the two guests, and to Gus and Justice for hosting the program. I missed a bit of the program, and I just called back from a payphone, and it sounded like you were discussing the benefits of speaking about racism and white supremacy. And I agreed with the caller earlier in saying that I've experienced benefits being more informed about how this place works. In my experience, I've observed, and I do believe that a system of racism and white supremacy exists. And to the white guest, the FBI agent, I suspect she's practicing racism by saying that it's beneficial for non-white people to not speak about racism and white supremacy. But I'd encourage non-white people who are listening now to the program who believe there's a benefit to black people or non-white people to not speak about racism, to look at some of the shows in the archive, very informative and very revealing about this place. You may not agree with all of it, but I strongly suspect you would get some information that would be beneficial to you. And that's my 2 cents I wanted to say.
Outstanding. Thank you, Back of the Bus, calling in to share his comments. Did either of you want to respond to that?
No, not me.
No.
Okay. Mr. Back of the Bus, you're still with us. I just wanted to clarify. You said you felt that Mr. Swearingen was practicing racism in saying that non-white people should not talk about racism. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay.
In my experience, I found that white people...
I didn't say that. I was quoting Morgan Freeman as saying that.
Oh, so do you think it would be beneficial for non-white people to speak about racism and white supremacy, what it is and how it works?
No, what I was saying was that Morgan Freeman was interviewed on a TV program, and he was asked when this racism was going to stop, and he said, in essence, that stop talking about it.
Okay, I understand that. I have another question.
I wasn't saying that. I was quoting Morgan Freeman.
Okay, I have a question.
Sorry about that.
Do you believe it would be constructive for non-white people to speak about racism and white supremacy, what it is and how it works?
I don't know. I have a problem with the racism itself because I helped a black man who was in prison, an innocent black man. I worked to get him out for 19 years, and it didn't make any difference what color his skin was. He was innocent. And so, I have a problem with racism because I don't think of black people as being different than I am. They're all human.
Just to help me get a better
That
understanding.
doesn't make sense. I'm sorry. But an innocent man is an innocent man, and I didn't care whether he was black, white, or Oriental. I spent 19
just
years.
to help me get a better understanding, do you believe a system of racism and white supremacy exists? And I'll define racism and white supremacy as a global system of people dedicated to the mistreatment of non-white people.
Oh, I'm sure that there are white supremacists out there. I mean, there certainly were when I was in the FBI. And I don't think things have changed. I don't know, because I haven't done any work like that for, as I said, 32 years. I haven't been hiding in a closet, and I watch a lot of TV programs, but I'm not the brunt of whatever is going on, and so I can't really answer.
Okay. To the people who aren't white listening to the program, I've observed that white people are very well informed about racism, white supremacy, and for a white person to say that they do not understand that racism, white supremacy exists, it's either one of two things. One, they're not the most intelligent white person, or two, they're lying. And in the case of Mr. Swearingen, is it? I strongly suspect he's practicing deception, racism, white supremacy. Just my 2 cents.
I didn't say that it didn't exist.
Sorry, sir, it's a bit difficult to hear you.
Yeah, I'm having problems hearing you also.
What did you say, sir?
I believe you said he was having difficulty hearing you as well. I think.
Okay. Well, I don't want to cause disruption on the flow of the show. I'm calling from a payphone, and there's a lot of traffic going by me on the road.
Okay.
Carry on.
Outstanding. Again, back of the bus. I did want to clarify before the program wraps up, because people in the chat room also felt that they did not hear if you clearly answered his question about if you think we are in a global system of white supremacy, Mr. Swearingen. You said that you knew of individuals who were racist white supremacists, but that did not answer the question about whether you believe we are in a global system of racism, white supremacy. So if you could answer that.
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know. I'm not that well informed on what the global situation is.
Very interesting. Very interesting. And how long did you work for the FBI, Mr. Swearingen?
A little over 25 years.
25 years. Very interesting. The individual who was in prison, Geronimo Pratt, do you think his entire life would have changed if he had not been a black person, including perhaps him not even being charged with those crimes he did not commit if he were not a black person?
I don't know. I can't say what might have happened. I'm just saying what did happen, and after I retired, I spent almost 19 years trying to get him out because I knew he was innocent. I didn't care what color he was.
You know, Gus, can I say something?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Swearingen cannot speak for all white people, the same as I can't speak for all black people.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want to put him on the spot. I asked him to come on the show to talk about my work.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems as though he's put on the spot because he's been an FBI agent for 25 years and he doesn't know this and he doesn't know that about white supremacists. And I don't want to feel like I brought him on to be put on the spot like that.
Oh, no, ma'am. I was just curious. Again, I mean, Mr. Swearingen, I believe, published a book before you did about racism, white supremacy that he observed in the Federal Bureau of Investigation, including intimate knowledge of how non-white people were mistreated by individuals that he worked with. So, since he was here, I just felt it was important to ask some of those questions. And again, I want to point out, no one asked Mr. Swearingen to speak for all white people. I just wanted his particular opinion, and I think the people who called in just wanted his opinion. I don't think anyone asked him to speak for all white people. I never asked anyone to speak for anyone other than themselves. I just wanted his view based on his life experiences, what he studied, what he's observed. No one asked him to speak for all white people, the same as I would not ask you to speak for all black people.
That's right. I can't answer for nobody but myself.
Right. Mr. Swearingen, do you think anyone has asked you to speak for all white people today?
Thank you.
Yeah, a couple of the people who called in kind of gave me that impression, but if anybody wants to know where I stand on the issue, I think they should read my book called FBI Secrets, and if they have any doubt after that, then there isn't anything else that I could say, because it's pretty clear in the book.
You said they gave the impression but you didn't say that anyone asked you directly, speaking for all white people. I think they just asked you for your opinion. I think I don't believe anyone said speaking for all white people, speaking for the white race. I don't think anyone said anything near close to that. I could be mishearing, but I don't believe anyone asked that today. And I probably would have said something because I think that's incorrect. I completely agree with Ms. McGhee. That's incorrect, and you would not be able to do that. But it is my opinion. No one asked you to do that today, and I don't think anyone implied that in their question. I definitely want to thank both of you for taking time out of your Sunday afternoon to speak with us. Justice, did you have any questions you wanted to ask before our guests sign off?
No, I don't. Not right now.
Okay. Again, Mr. M. Wesley Swearingen and Miss Millie McGhee. Mr. Swearingen's book, he just said FBI. Is it FBI Secrets?
Yes.
FBI Secrets. It's already out. You can check that out. He talks in a lot of detail about specifically what happened with Mr. Geronimo Pratt, black male, victim of racism, white supremacy for sure. He was a member of the Black Panther Party. Miss Millie McGhee, her book, Secrets Uncovered, J. Edgar Hoover, The Relative. Please check out the documentary as well, What's Done in the Dark. The website, it is linked if you're listening from Blog Talk Radio. You can go to her website, what'sdoneinthedarkmovie.com. You can go there, you can get the film, more information. Excellent. I believe her email address is there as well. Did either of you have anything you wanted to say before we wrap things up?
No, it was nice being on your show and nice talking to you, and thank you, Wes, for coming on.
Oh, you're welcome, Millie. Anytime.
Outstanding. Thank both of you. I thank you both. We are very appreciative for you all spending time with us this afternoon. Enjoyed it a ton, and I hope people will check out your book, both of your books. And Ms. McGhee, I hope they will check out the website and your film.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. We will take a quick commercial break and wrap things up. I'm going to play Mr. Williams' commercial because they gave me the chance.
Is racism hurting you? On issues of race, are you unable to speak, think, and act with clarity and confidence? Are you tired of laughing when nothing is funny, smiling when you are not happy, agreeing when you really disagree? At counterracism.com, you can learn specific strategies and techniques to counter the behaviors of the people who practice racism in all areas of activity, using words correctly, following counter-racist logic, even counter-racist science projects designed to reveal what racism is, how it works, and how to counter it. The open-source code writing format allows you to pick and choose from a variety of counter-racist suggestions so you can produce the code that works for you. Stop by counterracism.com today and help replace racism with justice.
That's counter-racism.com.
Again, the cows, Gus T Renegade, and Justice. Justice, did you have anything you wanted to say, or at minimum, give us your email? Yes, ma'am. Go right ahead.
Justice.asap@yahoo.com. Again, justice.asap@yahoo.com.
Outstanding. Outstanding. Any of the folks that called in, you're on the line. If you had a comment that you wanted to get out about the show or anything else.
This is 916. Can I be heard?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah, no, I just never ceases to amaze me the level of confusion amongst non-white people regarding racism and white supremacy. And I thought it was very interesting that Miss McGhee was protecting the white male by not wanting him to be put on the spot. I thought that was very interesting how she defended him.
Did you Did you feel like anyone did anything incorrect or was discourteous with Mr. Swearingen, including the hosts? Did you feel like anyone was incorrect in the questions that they asked or discourteous in the way that they asked him questions?
Absolutely not. And the only reason why I didn't bring up the fact that I felt he was practicing racism and white supremacy is because I felt the conversation was going to go down that road. And I didn't feel it would be as constructive as if we just stayed on the path of just trying to get more information out of him. So, I'm glad back of the bus brought it up, but I decided to not bring it up. Because sure enough, it went down the road I suspected it might go down. So, because it turned into him defending himself, and I knew he was going to say, I didn't say that. I was just saying what Morgan Freeman said. Because I saw that interview with Morgan Freeman. So,
is he? I didn't see that interview. I just wanted to make sure. Is that what Mr. Freeman said? Okay.
That is exactly what Mr. Freeman said. And he also said that in order to be a slave, you have to agree to it. And ultimately, you could have just killed yourself. So the fact that you agreed to it is a problem. And that's something that he said. If you look on YouTube, you should be able to find that clip.
Very interesting. Very interesting. Wow. Thank you again. Back at the bus, calling in. Glad he pointed that out as well. I was also glad Mr. Swearingen was able to point out he worked for the FBI for 25 years and observed enough racism that he was able to write a book about it, but didn't feel informed enough to answer whether or not we're in a system of racism, white supremacy.
Right.
Very interesting.
Very interesting.
Very interesting. And he's been on a ton of documentaries. I mean, not just her. He's in her documentary, but I mean, he's in a ton of them. Like if you get I think it's the FBI's war against Black America. He's in that documentary talking about, ugly things that suspected racists in the FBI did to various black people during the 60s and 70s.
Right.
And not just Geronimo Pratt, others as well. I believe he's also in, I think it's called Power to the People. It's like a 2-hour documentary that pretty much all focuses on COINTELPRO. He's in that documentary, too, talking about how the same thing, suspected racists did all these ugly things to non-white people during the 60s and 70s, just, blatantly mistreating people, throwing people in jail. Fred Hampton killed him, set up his murder in Chicago. Just, ugly, ugly, ugly. But don't know if we're in a system of white supremacy. Very interesting. Very interesting. I think there are a couple other folks on the line. Are you anyone else there besides 916?
I'm on the line.
Oh yeah, we do. We still got back of the bus. Outstanding. Did you agree with what? Do you want a name or you just want to stay 916? Either way is fine with me.
No, Mr. Nero is fine.
Okay, Mr. Nero. His comment about the non-white person, Miss McGhee. Did you think she was protecting Mr. Swearingen on the program?
I did. I felt she was attempting to, and I also found it interesting how Mr. Swearingen would repeat what Ms. McGhee would say, or to say, I agree with Ms. McGhee. And I've observed suspected racists do that quite a bit. When a non-white person says something in defense of them or try to answer a question for a white person, the white person will say, oh, I agree with what the non-white person said.
Wow, I think he did do that quite a few times. He would just agree. I think Justice even asked some questions. I think the question, I don't remember the exact question, but it was how we got, I guess, on the topic about whether or not you should be talking about racism. And she answered first, and he just said, I agree. That was his answer. He didn't say anything else. He just said, I agree. Very interesting. Very interesting. Wow. I suspect he probably has a lot of information. I don't think you could work for the FBI for 25 years and not pick up a lot of information about a lot of things. I suspect he's a very informed white guy. I don't know. I think he could have probably spilled a few more beans for us, but, you know, I did want to highlight, though, because I felt that was very interesting. I think it was before you tuned in, Mr. Nero. I don't know if you caught it back of the bus, but he said that when he worked for the FBI, it was rumored, other FBI agents talked about how J. Edgar Hoover had a black parent, that other FBI agents talked about this when he was an agent, that they pointed out discrepancies on his birth records that did not match up with the census information, that this was talked about. This was not news to him. He knew about this when he was an FBI agent. When Miss McGhee came to him, a non-white person, saying, hey, Mr. Hoover, J. Edgar Hoover, I think he's related to me. Different people in my family have told me these stories, blah, 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 blah. He said, and I'm using his word, he said, I thought she was crazy. That's what he said on the program today. He then said, when she got white people to agree with what she was saying, when white people came forward, said, yes, we think we're related to you, we think the work that you've done is looking like it's correct, he said that was enough for him to say, okay, I co-sign on your work. I think you've got something. And I pointed that out. He said, yes, when white people came forward and co-signed on what she was doing, he didn't think she was crazy. He thought she had something valid.
Yeah, unfortunately, I missed that segment of the show, but I will definitely download the archive.
And I think she even, I listened to that part because I think she even commented then to say, she made a comment then, which might, I guess if you all check it out, that might be her jumping in to take away, because I think I said explicitly, this again highlights the power that you have as a white person in the system of white supremacy, the lack of power that you have as a non-white person. She had, other non-white people had verified her story. She had records. She had done research. Just getting other white people to agree with what she was saying, that was enough for him to say, okay. But she did comment. You can listen to the archive and hear what she said, but she did make some comments at that point. Wow. Very. Well,
it was clear to me she was. It was clear to me she was on, borderline, getting ready to become hostile about defending him. So. She got there. She didn't ask a question. Gus, are you trying to put him on the spot? She just said, hey, I don't. She already made the conclusion that, hey, you are putting him on the spot, and I want it to stop.
And asking him to speak, or I guess she said that she felt we were asking him to speak for all white people. Exactly. I don't think that was the case. I don't think any of Back of the Bus's questions, my questions, Justice's questions, Mr. Nero, or anyone else that asked questions, I don't think anyone asked him to speak for all white people. I guess you all, if you heard the show, you can check that out and decide for yourself. Justice, she says she has some questions for you, Mr. Nero. Justice, go ahead.
I got your email. I tried to send you an email back, but it didn't go. So
right now I'm having some problems with email.
Okay.
Yeah, right now
I'll try to send it to you again.
Oh, well, thank you very much, Justice. I appreciate that.
Outstanding. I'm sorry.
Do you have a different email address?
Yes. You can send it to jnero401@hotmail.com.
Okay.
Groovy. There is one other thing. I know in the chat room there was some comments, I guess, made in the chat room about hope, I guess, and non-white people just complaining about racism and not doing anything, which, hey, I totally agree with that. We don't want people just to sit around and mope and not do anything. I hope that this program is not just non-white people sitting around moping about racism. I hope it is of some value for non-white people to be able to do things, to change the way they think and understand racism, and then change the way they behave as a non-white person, victim of white supremacy. Did you all, I guess back at the bus, or Mr. Nero, if you were watching the chat room, did you see any of that while the program was going on, the comments about all that?
No, I'm not in the chat room, unfortunately.
Oh, okay. Back at the bus, did you see any of that during the program? Oh, no, we might have lost back at the bus. Dang, might have lost him. Oh, well, I did see it. It was there. I saw it during the program. I'm going to save a transcript of the chat room from the program, but I did see it, and I hope this program is not just, it doesn't sound like, or if you're listening, I hope it does not come off as just non-white people moping and complaining about racism. I hope it is, the information is of some value. If it sounds like non-white people just come here to mope and be sad about racism, might not want to listen to this, because I don't think that would be constructive. I would agree, and I would say if this program comes across as that, you might not want to listen to this, because I don't think that's constructive either. I do say, because I think some of this came out in saying that if the FBI is mistreating you, you might not have resources to help you. If the FBI is mistreating you as a non-white person, might not be anybody to help you out. That's not to say be hopeless and put your head down. That's just the reality of white supremacy. It doesn't even really have to be the FBI. It could just be any random white person who is a racist white supremacist. They could mistreat you, and you might not have anybody to go to help you out. Now, I would hope that's not the case. I would hope you'd be able to do, call the enforcement officials or, take whatever recourse is necessary. But that's what white supremacy means. As a non-white person, you could and probably will end up in situations where you are being mistreated by a white person and you have no help. That's what white supremacy means, and I hope non-white people get that understanding. If I am correct, I could be incorrect. I guess we have at least two non-white people here. Mr. Nero, do you feel that is an accurate description of the system of white supremacy, that you can be mistreated as a non-white person and have absolutely no recourse?
Absolutely. In fact, this year, I got chased out of a city called Sierra City, California, by 3 white males on motorcycles, ran me out of the town, and unfortunately, I got ready to go knock on the sheriff's door to ask for some assistance on how to get directions out, and it dawned on me who I'd be asking. I said, wait a minute, rethink that. The person I'm getting ready to go ask for help, maybe the person ultimately that wants me out of here. And so I have personally been chased out of a town by 3 white men on motorcycles. And I had no recourse. Couldn't go to anyone. So yes, that is a very accurate description. Wow. If you are white and you find yourself mistreated by the FBI, well, you are on your own. I'm sorry, non-white. No. You're non-white, you find yourself mistreated by the FBI, as far as I'm concerned, you are just on your own. Good luck getting anybody to help. That's the position I found myself in. It came down between me and my God, begging God, please let me get down this hill in one piece.
Wow. Yeah, like I said, I don't think, Mr. Nero, I don't think he sounds like he's just putting his head down like, woe is me, nothing we can do about that. I certainly have not taken that position. I don't think Justice has taken that position either. I think I've said repeatedly, I would not be doing this program if I didn't think anything could be done about racism. I would have, called it one a long time ago. Would be no reason for us to be here. Just, I think it's important to have an accurate understanding of what white supremacy means. And unfortunately, that's what it means. If you are a non-white person, and I want to highlight that, it does not have to be the FBI. It can just be any white person under the system of white supremacy. If they decide they want to mistreat you, you might not have any help unless you, and might ultimately come down to exactly what happened with Miss McGhee. It might come down to if you can get another white person to intervene on your behalf to stop the mistreatment. Right. That might be what it comes down to. And I have found myself in that position consistently where needed another white person to intervene to make things happen. And if you can't get that white person, you are really about to find out just how supreme the system of white supremacy is if you can't get that white person to intervene on your behalf. Again, I could be wrong. I don't think so. If you can find a non-white person who says, hey, I don't need white people to do anything for me, intervene for me, I got it. Anything happens, I got it. Follow that don't listen to Gus anymore. Just stick with that non-white person. If they can make that stick, anything happens, they got it. They don't need white people. That's the person you need to be riding with. And if you can, get me their contact information because I would like to ride with them too. But
yeah, I'd like to see them go to Sierra City and come out. That's what I'd like for them to do. Now, if you can go there and come out and watch it, I'll follow you. It's on the map. Google it. Sierra City, California.
Wow.
One way in, one way out.
Wow. That is the cows, ladies and gentlemen. I also want to highlight for those who didn't hear it, Miss McGhee, she also said, I want to make that a sound clip. She said, I think J. Edgar Hoover preferred being gay over being black, and she explained why. I thought that was excellent. She said that, that's an exact quote. I'm going to make that a sound clip. She said, I think he preferred being gay over being black, and she went on to explain the why. And it was basically the system of racism, white supremacy. But she said that was in the first part of the program. She said that he preferred being gay over being black.
And one last thing before we sign off, because I also want to acknowledge Mr. Swearingen's efforts with working with, was it Geronimo? Now, what was the name of
Geronimo Pratt?
Yeah, Geronimo Pratt. Mm-hmm. You know, him working to free him is something that, should be acknowledged.
I agree with that. I said at the beginning of the program, and I said his name before, I had wanted to get him on the program because I had read his book years ago. I read his book before I read the ISIS papers. I read his book before I read Neely Fuller Jr.'s book. It was very informative. I learned a lot from just reading his book about things that happened to a whole lot of non-white people during the 60s and 70s. Very informative, and I acknowledge that. However, a whole lot of people worked to help Geronimo Pratt. He wasn't the only one. Johnny Cochran worked on Geronimo Pratt's case for years. Even after the whole O.J. Simpson foolishness, he was still assisting Mr. Geronimo Pratt, which most people, I don't even think they know that Johnny Cochran had anything to do with Geronimo Pratt. And he was being pretty explicit and calling out how racist the so-called judicial system was and how they held this man incarcerated for so long. A lot of dirty things that he experienced as a member of Mr. Pratt's defense team during this whole thing. And like I said, people don't even know that. They have no idea that Johnny Cochran did this much work with Geronimo Pratt. So a lot of people did work. Mr. Swearingen, no white person would get a pass just because of what they did for a non-white person under the system of white supremacy. That still wouldn't take him off my list of suspicion, and I still would not protect him from being questioned by another victim of white supremacy just because he did something nice for a non-white person, even if he did something nice for them for 20 years.
Nor would I, but I just wanted to acknowledge it.
Oh, yeah, it's correct to do so. It's correct to do so. Correct to do so. I think, I did want to point this out. You talk about sticking up for white people. On the blog, my blog, racism-notes.blogspot.com, there's a film review for the movie Descent. Basically, Rosario Dawson, she's in the film. She's raped by a suspected racist. Pretty gruesome scene. He calls her all sorts of ugly racist names, watermelon, nigger, whole lot of other things. Anyway, during the course of the film, she gets revenge later. there's a non-white person. He commented on my blog. He said he watched the film, and he explicitly said he's an African American when he commented. He said he felt sorry for the white guy in the film who raped Rosario Dawson. He felt sorry for the white guy when they took revenge on him at the end.
Wow.
He said. He didn't say anything about Rosario Dawson. He didn't say anything about this white guy making all these racist remarks and calling her watermelon and baboon and all this other stuff. He didn't make any comment about all that. He just said, as an African American, I felt sorry for the white guy at the end of the movie. I'll just let that ride. No comment. It's on the blog. This is on the blog. It's on there right now. You can go to racism-notes.blogspot.com and look for the post on dissent. It's on the front page. Scroll down and go to where the comments are. Click comments and it'll pop up. You'll see it.
Okay.
That's us in the system of white supremacy. That's us. With what you heard on the program today and the people who called in feeling that Mr. Swearingen was being protected by a non-white person, I think you see that play out a lot in the system of racism, white supremacy. A lot. I guess we'll let you guys know the next program, next scheduled program is next Saturday, November 28th at 12. Right now it's 12 p.m. That might get moved up to 12:30. Just check back to make sure. But it'll either be 12 p.m. or 12:30 p.m. Pacific, either 3 p.m. Eastern or 3:30 p.m. Eastern on Saturday, November 28th. Liam Chef, he'll be here. We'll be talking about the guinea pig kids. If you don't know anything about that, I'll probably post a link or two so you can get more informed. But basically it was non-white children, Latinos and blacks in the New York area. They were subjected to, these were foster children. They were subjected to all these trial HIV drugs. None of them had AIDS, at least to my knowledge, the reports that I've seen. They did not have AIDS, but they were subjected to all these test drugs just to see what would happen. Guinea pigs, that's the title. But they just dumped all these drugs on them. This went on for a while. When the story first came out, people said, no, you're making this up. This didn't happen. Eventually, there was more evidence that showed that did happen, and the response by suspected racists was, well, it did happen, but it didn't happen to that many people. More evidence came out where it showed this happened to a lot of non-white foster kids, and it was kind of an, oh, well, you know, no big deal type of a thing. I hope this will be constructive and, again, highlight just you are totally exposable under the system of white supremacy as a non-white person. Can be treated with absolute disregard. These are kids. These are kids that this happened to. That'll be next week with Liam Chef. I'm sorry. Did you have a comment, Mr. Nero?
One last thing. Have you seen 2012 yet?
I've seen the post for it. I have not seen the movie. No, sir.
Oh, you have to see that one.
2012.
In fact, I would love to hear Dr. Kevorkian's take on that movie.
Wow. Give us a snippet. So the listeners will know a little bit more about it.
Well, 2012 supposedly is the date the Mayans projected that would end the world and everything like that. Mm-hmm. The movie starts off with a black scientist discovering the problem with an Indian scientist, and then from that point on, he's given the task to set the timetable and things of that nature, when it was all going to come to an end. Mm-hmm. And he is just completely inept and makes all these mistakes all throughout the movie. None of his calculations are right. And, you could just see the symbolism of white supremacy all throughout the movie. No African nation was even brought into the discussion of what they were going to do. Danny Glover plays the president who decides to go down with the country. And I'm going, now I've never seen a movie where a white president decides he's just going to die with everybody else in the country. I'm just going, you got to be kidding, And so, wow. But, I don't want to tell you all the movie, but when you see it, you're just going to say, wow, I can't believe how flagrant it is. And then at the end of the movie, supposedly now the whole world has shifted, everything's been moved around. The one continent that doesn't even look like it even had a rainstorm was the continent of Africa. And that's where they end up, as far as I'm concerned, colonizing, recolonizing.
Wow. I'm hooked. I'm going to see if I can catch 2012. Danny, are there any other prominent folks in this film we should look out for other than Danny Glover?
The gal from Crash, the lady from Crash, I can't remember her name. Tondi Newton, I believe is her name, is the actress's name.
Okay.
Yeah, she's in the movie as well. And John Cusack plays one of the main characters, saving the white family. And it shows him working with his ex-wife's new husband to save their family. And, there was another interesting scene in the movie where this father on the ship, on the cruise line ship, him and his best friend playing a band together, and his best friend is black, supposedly. And he's upset, the white man is upset with his son because his son married an Oriental woman. And so he hadn't had any, he hadn't spoken with them in years. So when he finally decides to call them, is when they get killed by, earthquake or whatever. And I just said, wow, that's interesting that if that white man that married that non-white woman doesn't get saved, his family doesn't get saved.
Wow. It sounds like there's quite a bit to analyze.
Oh, there's quite a bit to analyze. I can't touch on all of it. But quite a bit. I mean, and it's obvious to me. Now, everybody else in the theater was watching the movie. I don't know what they were seeing, but I know what I saw. And just recolonizing Africa, I thought, oh my goodness, this is,
Wow, that is... Wow, see, that I have said repeatedly, if I could, I would get Dr. Kevorkian on the show with Mr. Patterson at least once a month. I would have them on the show, and we would just pick 4 or 5 films and talk about them, because I have just seen repeatedly films are an excellent way to get non-white people to start to understand racism, white supremacy. It's 2 hours and that's it. You don't have to go get a book and read for a week or whatever. Most of us watch TV anyway, no problem. Sit and just watch and just have a couple things that you think about. And it'll just click, particularly when you start to get it on your own and you start to look for it, when you don't have to have anyone tell you anything, when you can just go see a 2012 and just, I know it's going to be here, let me just pay attention, and you just start to see things jumping out. Yes, I hope excellent. I'm hooked. I'm going to watch 2012. Hopefully lots of listeners will check it out. I might even drop Dr. Kevorkian online and see if he's seen it, if he has a comment. I emailed him after the show. I told him he should write a book that is all about racism in films, nothing else. I said, from a white person, he's super informed. I think that would be an excellent book if he just focused on racism in film, nothing else, because his book talks about film quite a bit. It's not focused exclusively on film. He talks about a lot of other stuff, but man, you will hear about that on the cows down the road, 2012. Once I get an opportunity to view it, I will share a thought or two. Hopefully people listening to the broadcast, they'll come back and share a thought or post a comment or two about 2012 for sure.
Okay, great.
Please check out Cree's program next week as well. She'll be right after the cows. Her program is with Mr. Tommy Hart. They'll be talking about Christianity, how that's been used to mistreat non-white people. It is next Saturday, November 28th. Her program is going to be at 6 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Central, and 3 p.m. Pacific. That's Counter-Racist Evolving Engineer, right here on Blog Talk Radio, next Saturday, 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific, right after the cows. Check that program out. Should be very constructive. Cree 7, right here at Blog Talk. That's going to, I guess, wrap us up for today. Don't have anything else to share. Make sure you check that beginning part of this program. If you don't do anything else, check out the beginning part of the show where Miss McGhee said J. Edgar Hoover would rather be gay than black. If you don't do anything else, check that part out. That was early in the broadcast. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in to the show. Justice email again, it is justice.asap@yahoo.com. Mr. Nero, do you have a final thought?
No, sir.
Outstanding. Thank you for calling in consistently. I appreciate the support of the program. Bus back of the bus. Thank you for calling in. Excellent questions. Please check out his blog as well, nonwhitealliance.wordpress.com. One more time, that is nonwhitealliance.wordpress.com. We'll be back next Saturday. Hope the program has been constructive. Thank you for supporting. We will be back soon. I think we're actually going to do the Thanksgiving program, We're going to do the Thanksgiving program. No guests. Just want people to call in to share their experiences of how they have been mistreated on the job. I think that would be great for Thanksgiving. We're not at work. We can take thanks for not having a day where we are subjected to racism, white supremacy on the job. I think I'm going to do it in the evening, like 7 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. Eastern. Just call in and share how you have been mistreated on the job by racist, white supremacist suspects. And if you have constructive ways that you were able to deal with it, that would be great too. But I think we're going to go ahead and try and do that for this Thursday. So check out for that. If not, we'll definitely be back on Saturday. Thank you, everybody, for tuning into the program. Thank you, everyone, for calling as well. Thank our guests. And we'll be back November 28th at tune in at 12. 12 p.m. Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern. We'll be back next week. Thank you, everybody. The cows replace white supremacy with justice immediately. Thank you. Signing out.